Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. We have a story here from Maryland about, about vacations, school vacations, religious holidays, and that whole thing. The decision here has been made by Montgomery County, the board, to strip religious holiday references from their new calendar. So what this means is all of those holidays that they had off before will still remain holidays and vacation time. The calendars just won't say what they are for. And this is, there are Muslims who are asking for a certain day off. And this was the answer that seemed to be the answer to all the problems about, equality. It was just strip all religious references from the calendar.
I don't know that this is really something that should be handled by school districts at the individual level, because the reality is we have one religion that gets a federal holiday here in this country, and that's Christianity. They get Christmas. Now, I guess you could also argue that Easter is kind of a federal holiday. It does fall on a Sunday, so it's not kind of like a bank holiday situation, so it's a little different. But certainly there's an establishment of one religion over others, and that only one has been deemed worthy of having a federal holiday. So that's, I think, where you need to be focusing, not on what school calendars say.
And the school board, when asked about this Muslim holiday that certain people were looking for off, have this incredible excuse, saying that school board members said they were sympathetic to the desire to have this holiday recognized and close the schools, but that legal precedent in Maryland bars them from closing for religious purposes.
And the obvious question is, aren't you closed on Christmas?
Right.
Although, now here's the thing.
Here's their answer to that
I'm
question.
guessing, can I guess what the answer is?
Okay.
The answer is they have that entire week off already. So they're not off on Christmas Day because of Christmas. It just so happens that Christmas Day falls during an entire week that they already have vacation on.
No, it's even more lame than that.
Oh.
And the excuse is absenteeism. They say they are claiming that originally they decided to close on certain holidays because there would just be absenteeism on those days.
Which confirms that they're giving preference. I mean, think about that, Lewis. What they're saying is the Christian holiday is going to be treated differently because as a result of there being more Christians than other religions, people just wouldn't be in school. So in that sense, we're going to put that holiday above others. I mean, it's essentially admitting that because there are more people who celebrate that one, they are making an exception and giving a day off.
Yes, and I don't even think that's really the reason. I think that's just bullshit. But anyway, that's what's happening here. Just don't call those holidays anything.
Yeah.
And you've got equality because it doesn't say Christmas break or Easter or whatever, even though Easter's a Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, presumably you'll have that day off anyway, but you know what I'm saying. So here's a question for you. You want equality. I want equality. I don't want, I think this should be a secular nation. Should we even have these Christian holidays off? If right now I told you, Dave, I can snap my fingers and there will no longer be a Christmas break. There will be no such thing. Do you want that along with all the others?
Well, the reason that particular one is complex is because in much of the world, it's normal that the entire week around New Year's might be a vacation week. And it's so close to Christmas time-wise that it would be hard to separate, right? I mean, it happens that December 25th is Christmas Day, and then January 1st is New Year's Day, which is a holiday, and people often take that entire week off. So, yeah, I would certainly be in favor of saying either we recognize all religious holidays as equal federal holidays, or we recognize none, and removing Christmas Day as a federal holiday. That I would be okay with. That's a separate decision from schools saying you get the entire week before New Year's or 3 days before and 4 days after or whatever. There's a week around New Year's that you have vacation. I'm, of course, totally fine with that.
All right. Vacation time is good. We need more of it in this country. So let's let's figure this out. Let's just throw in all of those Jewish Muslim holidays.
But then that's where it gets complex, because then you say, okay, well, what about all the other religions? Where do you draw the line at
All of
which religion? Exactly. Well, then,
No
then,
lines.
then every day is a day off.
I like it. Let's do it. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. All right, here's a serious story. Not that the last one wasn't serious, but it was just absurd. This one is kind of scary. Russia has agreed to build atomic reactors in Iran. This deal comes right before diplomats are to meet for talks on diplomats are meeting for talks on what impact this will have, but this comes right before sanction-related things on the Iran nuclear program. And I mean, the concerns here are very obvious, right? Will Iran be able to use these reactors for nuclear weapons? Will they be able to use the fuel? Will they be able to use the spent fuel? What exactly will be happening here? There's going to be a bunch of reactors built. Now, according to Russia, Russia is going to kind of be an overseer, I guess you could say. They are going to use Russian fuel. The spent fuel will be going back to Russia, and they make it seem like everything is fine and that Iran won't be able to do whatever they want here with this stuff. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, anybody who is paying attention to anything in that part of the world would obviously have concerns around this. You would have concerns, number one, from the Iranian side, because we have heard the very outrageous claims and desires that have been made by those within Iran, within the regime, in terms of what countries they'd like to see exist or not exist and what they would like to do, etc. But then also the Russian element, which is that Russia has been increasingly belligerent with regard to what their plans are in terms of the West, in terms of colonization, in terms of expansion, in terms of indifference to what anybody else thinks. So this is kind of doubly concerning, because the joining of forces of two nations that right now, I don't really do the thing that Mitt Romney or Sarah Palin do, which is say, this is our number one enemy. I don't really think of it in those terms at all, because these things shift so quickly. And to say someone is an enemy almost implies that there's something inherent that keeps you on opposing sides. The way that geopolitical forces are right now, there would be circumstances where these are countries that may have very different priorities than the ones that Western countries would have.
Why is it that Russia is pretty much always doing stuff like this, seemingly just to antagonize the rest of the world?
Yeah, but at the same time, remember when in World War II, we worked together with Russia, and Russia was one of the best allies in terms of liberation. There were Russian troops that were the first ones to reach some of the concentration camps and liberate Jews. So it's not always. It's just, post Cold War, since the Cold War, it seems to have defaulted into this, and it kind of ebbs and flows.
Well, yes, I suppose. I mean, that was kind of an alliance out of necessity. That was a common sense alliance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, if things could have gone very differently depending on the situation.
Well, yeah, things could have gone differently for Russia also, I guess is what you're saying.
Right, of course. But I don't know. It seems that they just want to antagonize. I mean, I don't see this as a business decision. I don't see this as any type of real partnership. I don't see this as a fruitful endeavor of any sort. It's just bizarre. But we'll follow the situation. Obviously, the rest of the world doesn't really like it. Iran must be loving it. Let's talk about Lebanon a little bit. We never really talk about Lebanon, do we? I mean, when was the last time Lebanon was discussed on this show?
Yeah, it's been a while for sure.
They have just discovered, after an announcement from their health minister, that samples taken from restaurants and supermarkets across the country contained traces of human excrement and sewage water. And if you heard that from the FDA, what would you do? What would you think?
I would be incredibly concerned, obviously.
Would you stop? What would you do differently?
I mean, I don't know. What does water filtration do exactly?
Water filtration?
Yeah.
Like our sewage processing plants?
Yeah.
Well, presumably it makes the water safe to drink. I mean, presumably we are getting rid of everything we can get rid of in it
Right.
that would cause us harm. And that includes, I believe that includes human excrement.
Yeah, well, no, there's no question that water processing does remove that. I mean, what are the choices? What are the choices one could make?
Do you stop going to restaurants, knowing that many of those restaurants get their meat and food from huge providers that are probably part of this? Do you only buy the most? Do you try to only buy foreign imported fruits, vegetables? I mean, how far do you take it?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain point, the reason I bring up the water filtration is it's a matter of trust, right? And I guess it depends on. Most people trust that the treated sewage water that eventually becomes drinking water again is okay to drink, even though there may be some parts per million content of stuff that you really don't want. In fact, I would almost guarantee that there is. So I don't know. It's like, do you trust that the dosage, so to speak, is safe or that it's harmful? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what the answer is.
This announcement by the health minister cites years of neglect. That's the wording. Years of neglect by the state's administrations towards their responsibility to protect the people and their health. It seems that elites in the system were actively covering for their merchants to the extent that the head of the Lebanese Traders Association said that merchants are obeyed and they obey no one. Yeah, this is just a corrupt system. Neglect, corruption, and all of the usual stuff. And it got so bad that people are eating sewage and crap regularly. And I don't know if there's anything they can do about it. If I were in Lebanon and I had the means to leave the country after hearing something like this, I probably would.
Yeah, but but Lewis, let's think about that. Hold on. Whoa.
Let me finish. Let me finish my thought. This is the first thing we've heard about this.
Yeah.
If this is the first thing we've heard about this, you know that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's true. I just think in general, when people say, if it were me, I would leave the country, it's often not that realistic in the sense that people, when your entire life, we hear that all the time in New York City, right? Which is, hey, it takes so long to get Section 8 housing here that's subsidized by the city. Why not just go up and try to get some housing, subsidized housing in like Ithaca, New York? And when you're not in the situation, it's very easy to say that. But if your entire life is in one particular place, if your entire family is in one particular place, is it that simple to say, oh, I would just leave my entire family and my job and go to another country, maybe even one where I don't speak the language, and just start my life over? Obviously, when people say that, they're often not really thinking of what it implies.
Well, I said if I had the means to do so. And it depends on your priorities.
Right.
Housing wouldn't necessarily be a priority of mine, but being fed crap, having a system that is so corrupt and messed up that food all over the country contains human crap and sewage water. I mean, that for me is a very big deal.
Fair enough.
So it depends on who you are, and having the means to do so is also obviously a huge part of this. Many people would not have the means to do so. So anyway, that's what's going on in Lebanon, and it's pretty crazy. But yes, David, anything to add? A calendar update?
No updates. Calendar still available. davidpakman.com/calendar members15. Password.
Flying off the shelves, right?
Flying off the shelves. Password is Patriot15.
All right. Thank you.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.